unless you've been living under a rock, you've probably heard of a little movie called Wicked, based on a musical which is a loose adaptation of the 1995 Gregory Maguire novel, Wicked: The Life and Times of the Wicked Witch of the West, which in turn is based on L. Frank Baum's 1900 novel The Wonderful Wizard of Oz and its 1939 film adaptation. Wicked has been propelled to a popularity only possible once Hollywood gets involved. For fans of the musical, myself included, the Wicked mania is nothing new. But with its current mainstream popularity, things now feel possible that never would have been before. Things such as a theme park land. Although our focus is now on Wicked, the world this story takes place in is of course shared with the Wizard of Oz, something with a far greater history of popularity and therefore a far larger history within the theme park industry. The Wizard of Oz actually has a rather rough history when it comes to theme park representation, despite being one of the most watched films ever made based on a book that's now in the public domain, so free for any theme park to utilize. There hasn't been much success in replicating this world within a popular theme park. This history is well documented already, and not what I'm here to discuss in detail, but I will briefly take a look at some of it to give a bit of context to what we may expect from a Wicked land. There have been quite a few attempts at bringing this world to life already, some of which are long gone and some which never quite made it over the rainbow. Long gone is the Oz-themed MGM Grand Hotel that opened in Las Vegas in 1993. The hotel itself took on a Wizard of Oz theme with an emerald green exterior, and the hotel's casino featured a large structure of the Emerald City, complete with Dorothy and her companions posed on the yellow brick road. Above them was a towering ceiling featuring a dome where projections of the Wizard of Oz floating in his balloon could be seen. Visitors could pay to enter the Emerald City where they would see scenes from the film, before entering the theatre to watch a non-Wizard of Oz themed show. The casino floor and buffet were also decorated to resemble the Land of Oz, even featuring an animatronic Glinda the Good Witch. Sadly, this only lasted 3 years, and by 1996, the Oz theme was completely gone. Now, perhaps most famous of all is the partially operational Land of Oz, located in North Carolina, which today only opens for 3 weekends each September. This replica Oz opened in 1970 and allows guests to follow in Dorothy's footsteps. Mostly a walkthrough with a museum and a show, the only attraction here was a ski ride remodeled to resemble a balloon ride. Following a fire in 1975, this attraction remained closed until 1991 and has since only been partially operational. Then, for our final brief overview, set to open later this month is the Wizard of Oz precinct at Warner Bros. Movie World on the Gold Coast in Australia. This land is pretty small and will feature 2 little coasters, a Vekoma suspended coaster called Flight of the Wicked Witch, and a Vekoma racing coaster called Kansas Twister. Theming here looks pretty sparse, but perfectly adequate and actually quite impressive for a small theme park land. It appears there will be large structures of the Wicked Witch's castle, Dorothy's farm, and the Emerald City. The attraction's queue lines also look well themed. Now, there have been more ambitious plans, most notably in the mid-1980s when a Wizard of Oz theme park was proposed in Kansas, inspired by the 1985 film Return to Oz. But due to a ton of opposition from Kansas legislators, local residents, and competing interests for the land, this theme park never got built. Despite these obstacles, the park was conceptualized by Landmark Entertainment, and it seemed to follow a hub-and-spoke layout very similar to Disneyland, with Kansas as the park's main street. Key attractions included a museum dedicated to L. Frank Baum, a tornado simulator, Professor Marvel's traveling fair, and a Munchkinland area with a windmill ride, a dark ride, and some other shows. The Emerald City itself was planned as an indoor center with a meet and greet show with the wizard, along with a Soarin'-like flight simulator. Other areas would include Gillikin Country and Winky Country, and Quadling Country, which would represent Glinda's domain. As exciting as all this sounds, it sadly of course never came to be, and with an estimated budget of $500 million, which is incredibly insufficient for these plans, I don't think things would have ever worked out even without all the opposition. So now onto the main focus of the video. This is why I believe Universal are more likely than ever before to bring the Land of Oz to a theme park. There was a point in time where the most likely contender to bring this land to life was Disney, but things have changed a lot since then. Disney actually has a rather long history with The Wizard of Oz. In 1954, Walt Disney bought the rights to 11 of Frank L. Baum's Oz novels and dreamt to adapt these. at first planned to be part of his Disneyland television series, and then developed into a script for a live-action feature called The Rainbow Road to Oz, Walt Disney was determined to make The Wizard of Oz a Disney success. But by 1958, he actually abandoned these plans, and the story shifted to become a potential idea for a Disneyland attraction. Of course, this also never happened, and after Walt Disney's death, the idea pretty much died out. In 1980, a new project was greenlit as Disney's ownership of the Oz novels expired in 5 years if they didn't put anything into production. This project became the terrifying and box office failing Return to Oz. For a brief time, this film did have a little presence within the theme parks, in the form of a float in the Main Street Electrical Light Parade, but this only appeared in 1985 and was quickly removed in hopes that it would be forgotten by all. All of this was before my time and not something that I have any recollection of, although I do remember seeing Return to Oz many years later as a child, and it definitely gave me nightmares. But there are a couple of things The Wizard of Oz related that I do remember within Disney's theme parks. That is, of course, the scene in the Great Movie Ride at Hollywood Studios. This opening day MGM Studios attraction opened in 1989, and Disney opted to license the rights for the original 1939 The Wizard of Oz to feature in this attraction. An excellent choice, as Return to Oz is not quite a great movie in most people's opinion. Then there's also the scene in Disneyland Paris's version of the Storybook Canal boat ride. Having opened with the park in 1994, surprisingly, this attraction featured the Emerald City and Mumby's Castle from Return to Oz, and has only just this year been replaced by Paradise Falls from Up. I can also remember the Muppets Wizard of Oz television movie that was produced by Disney and aired in 2005, in an unsuccessful bid to reintroduce the Muppet characters. So really, this serves a far greater role in the history of the Muppets than the Wizard of Oz itself. There is one final The Wizard of Oz related thing that Disney brought to our screens that I'm sure we can all remember and wish we could forget. That is the 2013 film Oz the Great and Powerful. Following the billion-dollar success of Alice in Wonderland, Disney began looking towards other classics in hopes to also turn these into box office successful live-action movies. They fell upon Oz, and it did seem perfect. But Disney completely failed in bringing this story to the screen once again. Likely partially spurred on by the Broadway popularity of Wicked, Oz the Great and Powerful did not manage to resonate with audiences. Prior to this film's failure, Imagineer Tony Baxter did sort of hint at a Wizard of Oz land, but we never got more information than this little rumour, and these plans now seem very unlikely to ever become a reality. Thanks to all this, for a long time, it did look like if we were ever to see a truly immersive Wizard of Oz land, it would be from Disney. But that no longer seems to be the case. Instead, right now, it looks like Universal are most likely to be welcoming us to the Emerald City. In covering the history of the Wizard of Oz in parks, there's one big thing I haven't touched upon yet, and that is because it's very important to the speculation currently taking place. The Broadway musical Wicked actually belongs to Universal's stage productions, meaning that even prior to Universal releasing the new movie, Wicked has belonged to the company for quite a while. Thanks to this, and with the books themselves in the public domain, Universal decided to have their go at bringing the World of Oz to one of their parks. And in 2006, the Land of Oz opened up at Universal Studios Japan. This small land combined Munchkinland Village and the Emerald City of Oz, offering guests the chance to meet the Scarecrow, the Cowardly Lion, and the Tin Man. The land featured 3 main attractions. The first was the magical Oz Go Round, a carousel-like ride with a fantastical Oz twist. The second was a show called Toto and Friends, which rethemed the former Animal Actors stage show to fit the Wizard of Oz theme. The show featured Dorothy and the Scarecrow, but surprisingly, there was no terrier to play Toto, but other dogs did feature. The third and final attraction was a stage show called Wicked, which was a condensed version of the 2003 musical. Housed in the Emerald City, the centerpiece of the land, this 35-minute version of the Broadway musical featured Alphabet and Glinda and musical numbers, One Short Day, What Is This Feeling, and Defying Gravity. Beyond this, other numbers, plot points, and characters were all cut. The Land of Oz itself closed in January 2011 and was replaced by Universal Wonderland, a kid-friendly area with characters like Elmo, Hello Kitty, and Snoopy. Despite the closure, a remnant of the old land remains in the form of Big Bird's Top Circus, a rethemed version of the magical Oz Go Round. Although now gone, this land was actually quite popular, but with the cost of employing actors to perform in the Wicked show, it's not surprising that it did eventually go. Although not particularly relevant to the likelihood of Wicked coming to one of Universal's parks, I can't help but mention that the Wizard of Oz has been referenced in multiple scary tale houses and even had its own scare zone called the Path of the Wicked in 2008 at Halloween Horror Nights. Other than this, since then, Universal pretty much left Wicked and The Wizard of Oz alone, allowing its onstage success to remain very much separate from its parks. But the release of Wicked Part 1 on screen has very much changed this. To say there's been a lot of promotion for the first Wicked movie would be an understatement. Practically every major city in the world has some sort of Wicked offering to promote the movie, and most of Universal's parks are no exception to this. Universal Parks have launched a series of Wicked-themed experiences, bringing the world of Oz to life for fans in Orlando, Hollywood, and Singapore. Located in the entrance of Universal Studios Florida is Wicked the Experience, featuring iconic Wicked locations including Shiz University, the Emerald City, and more. Guests can explore photo walks including Glinda's Bubble and Elphaba's Broom. You can also step into the Witch's dorm room or interact with a replica of the Wizard's control panel. This exhibit also showcases costume recreations from the film, along with various prop replicas. On sale is a wide range of Wicked merchandise, and nearby there is also the Emerald City Eats food booth, selling a variety of Wicked-themed food and beverages. At Universal Studios Hollywood, similar food items can be found at Hollywood and Dine. Then in City Walk, Wicked has taken over a whole store, and inside guests can find prop replicas and an Emerald City photo opportunity. Finally, there is Universal Studios Singapore, which has received by far the most impressive Wicked promotional tie-in. The New York zone has been transformed into the Wicked world, with vibrant pink and green decor to represent the Emerald City, Elphaba, and Glinda. There are many photo ops to enjoy, and a meet and greet with Glinda and Elphaba. Guests can also get Elphaba or Glinda-inspired makeovers, which include face painting, hairstyling, and nail painting. The central part of this experience is the show, featuring Glinda, Elphaba, and the Wizard. Again, this experience also includes themed food and drinks. I'm sure in part thanks to all this promotion, Universal's new Wicked movie adaptation has been a massive success, grossing nearly $200 million at the worldwide box office. With a second part set to release next year, it's no stretch to suggest that Universal may well be considering bringing this franchise to their parks. Universal seem to like to trial big IPs before bringing them into their parks, in the form of permanent attractions or lands. For example, putting Pokemon into Japan's daytime parade before setting to work on a permanent attraction for this franchise, or bringing the Universal monsters to Halloween Horror Nights before welcoming them into one of the Epic Universe portals. Speculation seems to suggest that they too are testing more classic franchises in their new Universal Orlando parade, as well as upon much merchandise. Then there is also the Universal Fan Fest in Hollywood, which seems to be testing various properties' popularity. It's pretty uncontroversial to say that Oz remains evergreen in pop culture, appealing to both children and adults through its various adaptations. So it does feel pretty likely that this is a property Universal might seriously be considering bringing to one of their parks. So if Universal do bring Wicked to their parks, what and where would it be? Personally, I think Orlando is the most likely resort to receive a Wicked land, as this resort is one of the few with the space required. So with 3 parks as potential locations, which would be best? Personally, I think the Studios Park is the least likely candidate. Although it seems a replacement will soon be needed for The Simpsons, I don't think Wicked is a good theme for this park. Instead, I think this franchise would be far more at home in either Islands of Adventure or Epic Universe. Islands of Adventure, original and still maintained themed, is that of literary-based lands. Wicked does have its origins within a novel, but of course, the land would take much greater focus on the film adaptation, very much in the same way as both the Wizarding World of Harry Potter and Jurassic Park. The Lost Continent section of Islands of Adventure seems to be the most likely space free for a Wicked land within this park. Some are pointing to its nearness to the Wizarding World as an issue, due to both stories' focus on wizardry and witchcraft. But personally, I believe their look and tone are so different that this really wouldn't matter. There would be no way to get the brightly coloured Wicked world mixed up with Hogsmeade. But with this being said, I do think Epic Universe would be a better fit. The land could feature an Emerald City area, the Wicked Witch's castle, Munchkinland, and Shiz University. I think all this would make the perfect portal for Epic Universe. Although, of course, with all this possible to build, I think we could be waiting a good few years or so before we ever see this become a reality, even if plans are already in motion. It feels a bit too early to speculate on exactly what attractions we would see here. But some sort of defying gravity broomstick ride is an absolute must. As is some kind of show where we could all enjoy live performances of some of the musical's best songs. So what do you think? Would you like to see a Wicked Land come to Universal? If so, what and where would you like it to be? Thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, check out some of my other videos and the links in the description. Oh, and don't forget to look to the western sky.